Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. I'm Kristi Shive, and this morning we have Anna Cason. She's a Senior Extension Associate for Food and Nutrition with the University of Kentucky. Can you talk to us about what an ultra-processed food is?
To start, it's kind of confusing, but we're going to talk about like the different levels of processing because essentially every food and drink that we see on the shelves in a store has gone through some sort of processing, even just the transportation to get that item to the store shelf or package to be on the store shelf. It's gone through some sort of processing. That being said, processing is not a bad thing. There are
Okay.
benefits to processing, but once we process a food so much, that's when there's kind of that negative air around it. So that
Okay.
ultra processed food, that's like the top of the top. This food has gone through multiple different processes for different reasons, and then it gets this label of being an ultra processed food. So some processing, like I mentioned, it's even just packaging foods or drinks in a form that we can take them home and use them. But then processing also involves adding nutrients to these foods. So some processing removes some vitamins and minerals, and then there's a process as these foods go through to get these vitamins and minerals added back. Or some foods are enriched with some vitamins and minerals. Like a lot of times we see milk that has a vitamin added or breakfast cereals that are enriched with these vitamins and minerals. So that's a beneficial form of processing. It helps to address nutrient deficiencies that hit us across the globe.
What can we keep in mind on these levels of processing?
Yeah, so a lot of times we hear experts talk about the ingredients list on these packaged food items. So a packaged food item will have that nutrition facts label and then a list of ingredients that are in there. And a lot of times the longer list of those foods may correlate to the amount of processing that has gone through. But again, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing because a lot of times this ingredients list has these big words that we may not be able to pronounce, but it's just a word for a vitamin or a mineral.
Okay.
That being said, some of this ultra processing does include some ingredients that we may not think that we use if we're making a product at home or something. So
Okay.
like a home baked item isn't going to be similar to that ultra processed food because that list of ingredients is going to be much longer.
Gotcha. Okay. So, Anna, if there are certain ingredients that we're trying to avoid, can we look at the ingredients list to show us that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So again, there are going to be some words on there that probably a lot of us struggle to even try to pronounce. There's a lot of syllables, a lot of letters. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Like a lot of times we think of vitamin E, it's going to not say vitamin E on the ingredients list necessarily. It's going to have a very scientific name, but it's just a vitamin that was added to it. So, yes and no, it's a little trickier than that. It's not quite so black and white, but essentially the advice surrounding ultra processed foods is going to fall in line with other nutrition recommendations of eating a balanced diet, getting in all those food groups or as many food groups as you can, and remembering that processing can be beneficial. So not only is it adding vitamins and minerals potentially, but processing of fruits and vegetables allows us to have those frozen items, those canned items, those dried items that are a lot more affordable and accessible year round. But then again, Kristi, on the other hand, just because a food has or doesn't have this ultra processed label doesn't mean that it supports our health. So we shouldn't be eating it all the time. So even though a cookie that we bake from scratch at home doesn't have this long list of ingredients, it's not going to be the quote unquote healthiest option for us to eat. We don't want to have it for breakfast, lunch, dinner. And then another example is like red meat. We hear about how we should limit that in our diet because of some of the nutrients that it has, like the saturated fat or just processed meats in general have that sodium content. So again, just because it's not labeled ultra processed or doesn't have this extensive ingredients list doesn't mean that we can eat it or we should eat it all the time. Just finding that balance in life of all the foods that make us happy and support our health.
Eating and a balanced diet is one of the best policies that you can stick to. And Anna, I know that you have some great information that if anyone would like more, they can contact their local extension office and ask about ultra processed foods. Thank you for joining us on the Farm and Home Show, and I'll see you next time.